He's just not worth it. Hi, I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. And Bill, that's what House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said about President Donald Trump when being interviewed by the Washington Post. The question of impeachment was raised, and she said no, she's not for impeachment because he's just not worth it. She went on to describe that she thinks that an impeachment procedure would divide the country, and she compared it to the days of Bill Clinton when he was impeached, and that process divided the country. Bill, I would like to just kind of bounce a few theories off of you in this episode, if you will, about why Nancy Pelosi is doing what she's doing. By the way, she did throw in that, yes, she thinks he's unfit for office. Mm-hmm. But that it's morally, politically, ethically.
So she's shirking her oath of office by not impeaching.
All kinds of ways. But in any case, but she didn't want to be divisive. So here's theory number one. Nancy Pelosi does not want to see Donald Trump impeached because she's afraid of President Mike Pence.
Well, that's a pretty good theory. That's the thing about several of the last vice presidents we've had, well, except for Cheney. It's like the vice president is assassination insurance. Yes, I think she'd have more problem with Mike Pence than she does with Donald Trump. And I think that's aware of it. But I got to tell you, I don't know what the other theories are, but my main immediate reaction to this is, the second you said it, is I was just thinking, she ain't got nothing. She got nothing. She ain't got nothing.
Well, that's one of the theories. And so let me directly ask you that. Is it possible that Nancy Pelosi would come out and so baldly indicate that she ain't got nothing?
We've talked many times about how the Democratic Party is careening off to the left now with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie and all of I forget the name of the Muslim congressmen.
Representative Tlaib, yes.
Yes, and they're just stampeding off the cliff. And Nancy Pelosi is shrewd enough to know that that while her progressive principles are one thing, this kind of thing is there's just no future for the Democratic Party going down that road. So part of it may be that she is trying to kind of rein things in a little bit and stay somewhere near the middle, because that's where elections are won, in the middle. And I do not think that Nancy Pelosi has decided I don't believe her, that, she's got impeachable information. We know what the military calls actionable intelligence. I don't believe she has actionable intelligence and then decided to announce that she would not seek impeachment proceedings out of the kindness of her heart or the love for Donald Trump or the American people. In other words, if after 2 years they had something that they thought would stick, we would have heard about impeachment on the day they sat down in those chairs.
Well, and you indicated this in part of your answer there, that one of the reasons could be, in fact, this is an overtly stated Pelosi reason for not backing impeachment of President Trump, and that is just the idea of bipartisanship going into an election season where there is so much viral and rabid partisanship. Doesn't this position Democrats well to basically say, look, I don't know whether we could have secured the impeachment and conviction of the president, but let me just say it's not good for the country, and we want what's good for the country.
In other words, we've decided to let that murderer against whom we have no evidence go free. Aren't we wonderful people? I'm not sure that really works, but they're in a tough spot. Scott, they really are. Who is in the middle? All of the fire and all of the attention are on the firebrands off the far, far left, and those people are going to cost them the election for sure. And so Pelosi has to find a way to position herself in the middle. But as I said, the problem is there is essentially a charisma hole, a black hole of charisma in the middle of the Democratic Party, especially towards what used to be the moderate end, but now the not quite so far left end. Joe Biden's not keeping people, awake at night waiting to get out there to plant some lawn signs, and none of them have any real oomph. So I think what she's trying to do is she's trying to prevent the worst of the damage, because if they had enough on Trump to bring impeachment proceedings, they would do it. I have no doubt at all, none, So I think it's a victory for Donald Trump. I think it's a big victory for Donald Trump, as a matter of fact.
Okay, I want to test one more theory and then go to another line of questioning to finish things up. The other theory is that Nancy Pelosi feels they don't need it, that she is confident of Democratic prospects in 2020, and in fact doesn't want to do anything that would further energize the GOP base when she thinks the Democrats have pretty good odds in 2020.
Yeah, that probably seems like the most reasonable explanation for why she doesn't proceed with something that she can't proceed with. I mean, do you have it? Well, I know I'm not supposed to be asking you, but honestly, I don't think there's many people out there who've been watching this visceral hatred on the part of the left for Donald Trump. I don't think there's a single Democrat elected to national office out there who would say, if presented with impeachable evidence, with real genuine evidence. I can't imagine a single Democrat saying, no, we can't do that, it's bad for the country. What they say about the president is bad for the country. And I think Nancy Pelosi, as I said, I think her admission is an admission that there's no there. And we've been waiting for the Mueller probe and all the rest of this stuff. And this is what happens when you run on vaporware. When you don't have anything to sell to the American people, when your party was in power, had all three branches, you shoved this healthcare thing down our throats, tripled our rates, didn't get to keep our doctors, and then after that, in comes a Republican, and the economy's growing at 4, 5, 6 times what it was under Democrats, and yet she doesn't have a lot of cards to play, Scott. So sometimes when you're in a situation like that, the best strategy to win is the strategy of winning by not losing.
Well, it's hard to imagine where the rest of her party is going to go, Bill, because while she's saying she's not in favor of impeachment, it seems like most of the rest of her colleagues in the House and the Senate are tacking in that direction. I point out the House Judiciary Committee has just sought documents from some 80 associates of the president or people connected with the president's campaign. There are other committees that are investigating the alleged hush money that the Trump paid through proxies to various people who might be able to come out with stories of sexual exploits. There is the Trump Tower issue in Russia. There is the whole, there are investigations into Trump's whole organization as far as its finances and practices go. Tom Steyer, the liberal billionaire, is still committed to spending tens of millions of dollars to getting people to impeach President Trump. And did I leave anybody out? Oh, I think that covers most of what I had written down here. So all that in mind, do you think Nancy Pelosi is going out on a limb and is going to find herself alone, and maybe that limb breaks off for her?
There's going to be some pushback from a lot of her party who wants to see Donald Trump impeached at any cost. Any cost. I imagine she figures we should get that pushback out of the way now. If people are going to be angry about this, let's get them angry about it now so that they're not angry about it 2 years from now. But when you ran that list of all of the things that are still open on the table on Donald Trump there, it's a pretty pathetic list, Scott.
They just announced that they are essentially requesting, they're not demanding apparently at this point, but they're going to 80 different associates of Trump or his campaign and basically demanding that they turn over certain documents to become part of their investigation. So they don't have those documents yet. But this is just the larger question is, with all of her party still going hard after these Trump probes, how does Nancy Pelosi corral these cats and get them all headed in the right direction for 2020?
By doing exactly what she's doing now. She's a very shrewd person. She's made out of condensed pure evil, but she's very very shrewd person. And I think she understands that if the Democratic Party continues to go the way that they've been going for the last 2 or 3 months, making the kind of statements they've been making for the last 2 or 3 months, and highlighting the kind of people they've been highlighting for the last 2 or 3 months, they're going to get shellacked in 2020. So I imagine what she's done is done the simple equation on it, said we're going to have to reel these ponies back in, and they're going to be kicking and screaming. So let's get all the kicking and screaming over with now. Let's get them back in line and hope that nuclear war with China occurs, or we enter a Great Depression, or the sweet meteor of death comes along and manages to hit just the White House. I just think when I heard it, I realize, number one, they don't have anything, and number two, this is smart politics on her part. Just calm this thing down, because she must know, if anybody knows, she must know there's no there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the news breaks all the time, and you come here to get it fixed. This is Bill Whittle Now, that comes to you 5 days a week, thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com who contribute from their own means voluntarily to make this enterprise a productive one. We appreciate those members. You can become one of them by going to BillWhittle.com and clicking that Become a Member link. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.